Hello, I'm Jeremy. I'm with Grant Station. Also joining me today is Carrie with Grant Station as well. And we're probably going to be spending about around 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes or so going over all the different features that we have here at Grant Station. And there are quite a few features. Now, please feel free to chat in at any time. And I'm going to tell you this right now, right off the top, you can always email Grant Station directly at info@grantstation.com if you have any questions. So someone answers it, someone will respond to you, probably me, possibly Carrie, but just want to let you know that we're here to answer your questions. And this is going to be probably a pretty, what do they call that? It's when you're looking at Carrie, tell me this, when you're at Airbnb, they say something is cozy, that means it's small, right? When they say it's a
Yeah.
cozy little house, we'll have a cozy group today, which means you can ask as many questions as you like, and we'll be happy to answer them. And if we don't get to them, you can always just go ahead and send us an email, info@grantstation.com. So with that, though, I wanted to go ahead and let Johan go ahead and say a little bit because he is so kindly allowed us to come here and present today. So Johan, let me hand it to you.
Well, I'll say this, Jeremy, you've done a much warmer welcome than I was actually going to do. So I feel like anything I can do at this point is detracting. But the one comment I will make up front, just so folks understand kind of where to go from interest generated today, is you can find the Grant Station profile on Pond at joinpond.com. And from there, you can either send a message to the team, or if you want and you just want to go ahead and move forward with the membership, you can do that directly from our perks page on joinpond.com. With that, I'll just turn it back over to you all to move forward with the demo.
Okay, perfect. So again, welcome everyone. I'm so glad you're here. Again, my name's Jeremy Smith. I'm with Grant Station. I'm Director of Communications Technology. And also joining us is Carrie Glauser. She is our senior lead researcher. And it's rare that I get her on these things, but she knows all about our website. She is the reason we have a website because she does all the research into all the records. So what we're going to do in this time today, we're not going to try to overblow you with things. I know there was a really great presentation about Grant Station yesterday, but I'm going to tell you all the things you can do on Grant Station. And this won't be a super in-depth focus because we could probably talk about this. Carrie, am I wrong? We could probably do a 2-hour webinar on Grant Station. I think that's about right. Yeah,
So
easily.
much to cover.
There's so many features, but I'm going to hit the main points. But if there's anything you want more clarification on, just put it in the chat. And if that's not quite enough, again, that magic email, info@grantstation.com, and we'll be happy to help you out. So before we get started, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what Grant Station is. We are a set of searchable databases that have current grant opportunities. We also provide tools and tutorials on grant seeking and writing, and we really keep you up to date on the latest philanthropic trends. Now, all the grantmaker profiles on Grant Station, both government and private, are actively accepting requests. This is very important, or letters of inquiry from a variety of organizations. Now, you may have used some other services where you do your research, you'll get hundreds, if not thousands of returns, leaving you with this really long list of potential funders that you have to screen through without really A, knowing how relevant they are to your specific needs, or B, if you can or even should apply to them. So our job, Carrie's job, and all of our researchers' job is to pre-screen grant makers. So the time that you spend researching generates a list of grant makers that may truly accept a request to fund your organization's program or project. So really think of us as your backroom research team. We're pre-screening funders, so we're feeding you the most relevant ones for your program or project. Again, and I'm going to emphasize this one last time, everything you find on Grant Station is open for request or letters of inquiry. Now, besides all of the rich grant research information on our website, we also publish 3 different newsletters that you can sign up for today without even having to pay anything at all. They're totally free, located right here under public resources. Now, first, we have a weekly mailing called the Grant Station Insider. I'm not sure if any of you know about this, but you can sign up for this, and it features 10 distinct opportunities for US-based nonprofit organizations emailed to you each week. We also have a monthly Canadian Insider. Again, that's 10 unique funding opportunities geared towards Canadian organizations. And we also have a monthly International Insider. That's 10 international funding opportunities broken down into global, regional, and government sections. Now, as you can see, these are all available in our public resources section. This is where we have all of our freely accessible content, which includes Trend Track, Pathfinder, and all these great tools that I won't really get a lot of time to go into today, because we're really going to spend a lot of time doing some searches and talking about the grant research process, just so you have a rough idea of how we approach it here at GrantStation. So near the top of the page is sort of how we have everything broken down. We have a great big image here that makes it pretty clear. You can find grant makers, you can build a grant strategy, and you can write proposals. These are the three different ways that you can really access all the tools GrantStation has. And to see the connection, find grant makers, build strategy, and write proposals. So find grant makers, of course, this will open up the search section where all of our databases are located at. The build strategy section, this provides a complete walkthrough of articles that will help you build a solid grant seeking strategy, including an interactive tool that'll visually lay out where your funding needs to come from. And this is basically the soup to nuts approach. It's like, I don't know how to find grants. I have no concept of what grants are. This is where you go. I've been doing grants forever. I know everything. Well, this is where you'll find things to augment your knowledge. This walks you through the entire process from not only seeing where you're at, but going to the idea of making a grant team. What's grant management? How do you deal with that? How do you find grant makers? What's primary research? What's secondary research? What questions do you ask the grant maker? How do I know how good of a lead this particular funder is? All of this information is here under Build Strategy. And then finally, write proposals. This is really straightforward. If you've never written a proposal before, this is the best place to go. If you have written it before, this is also a great place to augment that knowledge. But more importantly, we have a hidden gem here, which I am going to point out because someone pointed this out to me the other day. They said I should talk about it more, so I will. We have samples of award-winning proposals here. These are proposals that have actually currently, they're bringing in funding. And you can read the full proposals of all of these different people and see what's working. All of these were awarded, and you can download the full proposal, just redacted specific information about the organization, but all the information that they use to apply, you'll see exactly what they use, exactly what words are working, what's the best way to approach it. All of that information is available here. And we're one of the few organizations out there that do this. So here is a collection of winning proposals you have full access to. And we even have a video that you can watch talking with these winners, seeing exactly how they went about writing their proposals. And I just wanted to mention that to you. That's available right here under our Write Proposals section. So we also offer various webinars at GrantStation. I'm just going to show that to you really quick. Over here on the right-hand side on our homepage under online education. All of these are offered, they're outside of, they're not included as a part of your membership. So you can take them with a group of people who aren't members or just yourself. There's various levels of purchasing based on how many people you want to have attend. And we cover a really wide variety of topics. We even have some brand new ones we're offering. One's called Targeted Ed, and they're about, they're pretty inexpensive, and they're only about 30 minutes long, 15 minutes for questions, offered on Monday. We're doing one a month for the next couple months. All that information is available under online education, but that's immaterial for what we're focusing on today. Today, what we're going to focus on is what you can do with GrantStation and how it can help you find funding. So one thing that's really important to note, and it's a part of your membership and it's a part of the whole process of finding funding and keeping that motivation going, is your personal dashboard. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my dashboard right here and pop this up for you. This is where you can store any reports you've done from our tools, where you can create projects that let you focus your grant research by making a project description worksheet. This is really a summary of that initiative that needs funding. You can describe your needs and then put in your budget and add in effective search criteria and more specific information. And then from there, you can go ahead and connect that to various saved criteria. So if you found a really good search that pulls up lots of great results, you can then associate that with the project or just come back at a later date and rerun that search to save yourself time. You can also save individual grant makers, and these grant makers can then be referred to at a later date, you can email the information directly to yourself, or you can then track their progress if you're going to apply for them through the My Plan button. So you can then add those saved grant makers, connect them to your project, connect them all together, and then put them on a calendar, download that information and put it into any calendar program you're using, like say iCalc or maybe Google Calendar. All this information is included as a part of your membership to GrantStation. And of course, this is also where you can change your password, see any courses you've purchased or any orders you've made. All of that can be done through your dashboard. So dashboard is a very powerful place. And we'll come back to that a little bit later as we're going over all the stuff here at GrantStation. So at this point, I think we should probably get into the idea of what an actual record looks like. So I'm here on the homepage, and every week, the bottom of our homepage, we add in new funding spotlights. So here's a funding alert, a local funding alert, a Canadian funding alert, and an international funding alert. So let's take a look at this one right here. So Carrie, I'm going to ask you some questions as we go through this. So one of the things I did want to ask specifically is when we're putting together these profiles, I mean, a lot of people will maybe go to Google, they do a quick search and pull up all the results. What do you think really separates our results from, just a Google search or maybe even just a scrape of information?
I would say it's definitely our personal touch. All of the researchers are digging through information to find the most relevant things to condense into here that will help members find appropriate funding. So everything on here has been verified by a real researcher. So it's all up to date.
And one thing I did want to ask is right up here in these various sections, we have the financial information and we have the grant maker information. What does financial information mean specifically when you're looking at it in a record?
That's usually, like it says there, their total annual giving. So generally we'll pull that from their annual report if they have one, or oftentimes funders will list their grants that were awarded that year. But most of the time we get that from their most current 990 form.
And that's something you can also view right down here. We give you direct links to a funder's 990 because sometimes they don't have the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Clean website or functional website. So that's why the 990 is always clean and functional. And we save you that time. We go through the 990 for you and then populate the record with all this information. So one thing I did want to also ask, Carrie, is I know that when you're putting together the record, you do internet-based research. You look at the funder's website for current information. If it's incomplete, you also reach out to the funder. Could you tell me about that aspect?
Yeah, so we usually try to email them if we can find an email address. And, oftentimes they'll respond if we send them specific questions, if we ask questions about their deadlines or things like that. But then also, if we can't find an email address, we'll actually send them a letter through the mail. So we try to maintain contact with the funders to verify all of their information.
And that often results in information that's not necessarily on the website because it hasn't been updated or really anywhere else. So often we'll have unique records. Is that right?
Yes, definitely.
So something you can also count on when you look at a GrantStation record, it's been looked at by a person, it's been completely approved, and you even at the very bottom have a last updated date. So you know when this particular record was last updated here on GrantStation. So our researchers really focus on publishing quality information that'll make your job easier, hence the idea of thinking of GrantStation as your very own research team. So let's look for grants. Let's go ahead and close this out. We're going to go back to the home page. You can get there by clicking on the big GrantStation logo right here. And here we are at grantstation.com. How do we go about finding the best grant makers to approach? So again, prior to starting your searches, we really recommend you walk through the steps here at Build Strategy. It seems like a lot, but it really isn't. A lot of it is common sense stuff, but it also is just checking boxes as you're going through it. You can, though, if you don't want to follow my advice, that's totally fine. You don't have to. You can jump right into research, but we like to give you some base, some idea an infrastructure to start with and move forward. And what we're going to focus on primarily today is, funnily enough, I don't even know if that's a real word, Carrie, funnily, but primary research and secondary research. So primary research is the concept of finding the leads, and secondary research is investigating the leads. That's really the straightforwardness there. We're going to pretend we've already done all of these steps. And in fact, if we go to our dashboard, I'm pretty sure we have. So I'm going to go ahead and pop into our dashboard, look at our project, and oh, would you look at this, Carrie? It's the Save the Chinchillas project. Now, this might have a personal connection to you because you have a pet chinchilla named Chewy, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay, let's take a look at the Save the Chinchillas project. This is that first step that you're doing. This is going to let us know what we're looking for, what kind of things would we need to find funding for. So we put in the name of the description. We then have a specific description. And in this case, Carrie, I'll let you walk me through it. So what is our description we're trying to focus on here?
I'm sorry, you went off script.
Oh, no problem. It's right here. It's find new homes for abandoned chinchillas. So that's our description for this. And then we also have our statement of need. This is the reason why, and this is something you've told me about, is that too many people buy chinchillas and abandon them. And that is true, right?
Yes, definitely. That's sadly very true.
I've actually seen a couple pop up at our local animal shelter, which is interesting. I don't think they were roaming the streets, but I think people just abandoned them to the animal shelter. And I was like, oh, that's an actual thing. And I was very surprised by that. But that's why this is a great step to do, is to add in that specific information. And you can also export this information at any time as well. Then below the statement of need, we have our budget summary. This is where we can see exactly how much money we need and for what reason. And I'm going to ask you about this right here, Carrie, the Chin Chow. Is this is that what it's really called? Is it called Chin Chow?
Not
Or is
what
that
it's
your name
called.
for it?
It should be
Oh.
called that.
It should be called Chin Chow.
Yeah.
Okay, it should be called Chin Chow, but this is where you can really break down how much money you need. Because if you're just looking for funding, that's great. But the funder wants to know what you need money for. And this step lets you identify what you need money for. What is the important thing to need? And you have full tools here to go ahead and make lists, to go ahead and bold and italicize various things. You can format the layout of how things are. We wanted this to be a really easy area where you could add that information, and it's unique to your specific GrantStation account. So then you can simply log in, enter this information, and it's only for you when you come in and do your research. You can make as many projects as you want, and I encourage you to for everything you're trying to do research for. So let's say you're an education organization and you are talking with children about the importance of obesity and healthy eating. You would make a project description sheet, as we call it, for every type of search you're trying to do. Then you can get funding from multiple sources. And you're not just looking for funding for one thing, like, well, we're an educational research for children, but what's your project? That's what the funders want to fund, what you're doing. How can they help you with your project? So they're very interested in what you need funding for a specific outreach that matches with what they're trying to focus on. This is why the project description worksheet is so handy. You can put in that information. You can put in your geographic scope, where you're focusing on, where your focus is going to be, and then any specific search terms as well. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about search terms here really quick. And this is going to lead us nicely into our next section. But this is the terminology that's used on our website. That's the same terms that the funders use. Sometimes you'll do a search and you won't be able to find any results, not just on GrantStation, but anywhere. You'll be looking for a specific term and it doesn't exist. And often that's because you're not using the same term the funder uses. This section is really powerful because it allows you to get on the same page as the funder. So all you have to do to use this section is simply come down to the keyword area and then type in a specific keyword. So I went ahead and made up a couple pretend scenarios for today, and I alluded to one already. But let's say that we're in California. We do work across the border in Nevada. We want to provide schools with information about the importance of activity, hygiene, and obesity prevention. Well, we want to go ahead and start by typing in some of those keywords. So let's go ahead and type in obesity, and I'm going to actually make sure I have it working. and we'll do ahead and click apply. So we put in that keyword. We know that there's a specific category right here called healthy lifestyles and obesity prevention. And this is how it's set up. Topics are included, but are not limited to active lifestyle programs, obesity prevention programs, and physical fitness and exercise programs. And this is under the health and wellness category. So we know we'd make a note of this on our project description worksheet. And now we know we're on the same page as the funder. So let's go ahead and do another one. We'll go ahead and type in nutrition, if I can spell it right. And we'll click apply. Okay, also under health and wellness, we have another one called healthy eating and nutrition, and that includes nutrition results, healthy diets, malnutrition, nutrition education. So for our purposes, nutrition education is exactly it. That means we'd be clicking the box healthy eating and nutrition under the health and wellness category. So now let's go ahead and pretend we've done all of these different search terms. We have them all in place. Let's go ahead and start doing an actual search. Again, this is known as primary research. So we're going to start off by looking at our US state government pages right here. And we're going to take a look at California. It's going to be our main focus. So what you'll see here is a breakdown of all the different funding opportunities available on the state level. So they're broken down by types of support, as you can see by the, I always forget this word, Carrie. Is this a legend? Is that what this is called?
A key, maybe?
A
Yeah, I think
key.
legend would work.
I think it's not a map, it's a key. You have it correct. I have it wrong. So the key is here on the right-hand side. This is where you can see who's offering a grant, who's offering information, who's offering training and technical assistance, who's offering, contracts or RFPs. All this information is broken down, again, by each state. You can save them all to your dashboard, as you can see, and each link will take you to more information available on those specific pages. Once you have those specific search terms, you can quickly scan here and see what's available. Now, I know that health and wellness is our main category. Is there something under here that might fit with our specific need? Well, there's a good chance public health might be good, although maternal, child, and adolescent health, that's probably a really good fit for us to take a look at. We click this link, explore this website in greater detail, and find the grants being offered and see if they're a good match for our program that we have on our program description worksheet. This is why I like to do that. Then you can quickly see at a glance if it works or it doesn't work. Again, we have this for all 50 states and the District of Columbia. And then you can also take a look at general resources we have available for all the various states, breaking down any type of small business information, any contract pages, procurement pages, and other things that can help you when you're putting together your needs statements, when you're actually writing your specific grants. So I want to go ahead now and take a look at our US federal section. And this is where you can do your federal grant research. GrantStation is really a one-stop shop for finding all the types of funding that you need. We can do state research, we can do government-based research, and we can do private and foundation-based research as well. We'll talk more about that in just a second. But for federal research, you'll get a quick look at what to expect when you're doing searches on GrantStation. It's really just a matter of clicking on and off various boxes. So here are eligible applicants. Let's say we're 501c3 status, and then we can narrow this down further by adding in more specific criteria. So if I click the drop-down box, we can go to our specific area of interest, and we know that ours was focusing on health and wellness. But if you look, you see there's nothing listed here. Well, that's based on what's offered from the US government. And sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not, based on what's currently offered. All of these listings here are a front end from grants.gov. Now, grants.gov is where you'd actually do the applying for your various grants for federal purposes, but we've created a front end that allows you to save them to your dashboard and include them as a part of your primary research. So you can look for federal grants that fit your specific needs. You can always, of course, look up specific funding agencies as well. You can look up, I think it's the Institute for Health. Is that the one? Department of Health and Human Service, so HHS. And we could go ahead and see what's available based on a specific department within the government, what they have available. It's going to be hit or miss if you find something on the federal level, but if it's going to be listed, it's going to be available here. And you can find that all by simply entering the various search criteria, entering a specific funding agency. You can also search by keywords, again, making sure you have the same keyword. If you've done your keyword research, you can enter that here. You can also search by CFDA number or even by funding opportunity number. And another quick note, if you find a search that works really good, here's that save search criteria. You can simply select this and then save that search, and then you can run it again at a different date if you want to see if it works for you. So here's a search for US federal database for agriculture. Here's a search for international charitable. This is where you can make searches that really save you time as you're doing your grant research. So the next area I want to go ahead and hit on before I go too much longer is jump into our US charitable section. Now this is the area you spend the most time in, Carrie. Is that right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So this database section lists thousands of funder profiles. This includes independent, family, community, and corporate foundations, corporate giving programs, faith-based grant makers, and basically any associations with grant making programs. That includes giving circles as well. So all these profiles are searchable by geographic scope, areas of interest, type of support, name, and by keywords. So in the content area here on the left-hand side, you find a little guide that helps you through the search process. And the right-hand side, this is the navigation area where you enter in all of your various search criteria. So also right here is where we're going to start our quick searches today. Again, California, do you work in Arizona? And then from there, we're going to focus on nutrition and obesity outreach to children in schools. So we'll start by clicking a specific state, in this case, California. So what we're doing right now is establishing how big our world is. How big is our grant world going to be? And then once we've done our geographic scope, everything else will narrow it down to our specific need. There is a fancy term for this, but since one of our other presenters isn't with us, I don't quite remember it, so I don't want to say it incorrectly. But I like to say we're figuring out how big our grant universe is, and then we're narrowing it down to the funders that are a perfect fit for us. So these are funders who only give within California. Let's go ahead and add national grant makers. We have across all states. And let's add in one more. We're going to add in Arizona because, again, we work across the border. So not Arizona. I think it's Nevada, actually. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, it's Nevada.
It's Nevada. Well, here's the great
Close.
thing. This was totally on purpose because you can just click the minus sign to remove it. And then we can go ahead and do another search. And then Johan will, of course, edit this video. So it will look like I never made a mistake at all. So we're going to go ahead and scroll all the way down here and click on Nevada at this point. So now we're looking at about 2,212 results. That's a lot of results to go through. You can, of course, show more on the page if you want at a time. I think we need to narrow this down. So we're going to enter in those specific areas of research that we're going to go ahead and dig into. So let's go ahead and scroll all the way down here into our areas of interest. And if you say, Jeremy, this is way too much work, I don't want to go through this research process, putting that in air quotes, what other way can I approach this? Simply clicking on health wellness or any category that looks like it's a fit, you have a little eye right here. Lets you know what's in every single category. So you can quickly go through like this. So yeah, I totally get it. You don't want to do it how I'm recommending. You don't have to. You can do it any way you want. But I'm just showing you how I like to do it. And this is the best way I've found to find results, starting with the program description worksheet, working through those steps in the build section, and then knowing I'm on solid ground as I get into my research area. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down here and start by clicking on healthy lifestyles and obesity prevention. So now I'm down to 53 results. That's pretty good. We're going to go ahead and click on health and wellness again. We're going to add another search term, but notice how some of them are now grayed out. Well, that means there's nothing available that matches these search terms up here. So as we add more and more, these will they'll have fewer and fewer options because the chances of someone offering, like funding for an opera focused on obesity that deals with, the mental health of immigrants is going to be pretty small, if at all. So as you add more search terms, it will narrow. That's why I like to say area of interest and everything else narrows it down to your specific need. So let's go ahead and click on healthy eating and nutrition. See, it dropped us down to 24 results. And this is exactly what we're trying to do is get it smaller. You can see the search criteria right up here. You can, of course, save the criteria as well. So we're going to scroll down now to a couple other options. We have our targeted population. Who are we going to focus on with our support? Do we want to reach out to immigrants? Are we focusing on seniors or the aging, or maybe just Native Americans or First Nations or indigenous groups? Again, our focus is children and youth, and we're just narrowing it down to a specific fit for our purpose. So we're going to go ahead and add in a couple more search terms here. We have type of support as well. This is where you can narrow it down by specific type of funding. Look, we just need general operating costs. We want to keep the lights on. We want to keep everything working smoothly. We could click that. We're a new organization. We need grassroots funding. Or you know what? I'm looking for funding just for my individual project, which is on this, or I'm looking for a product donation, or maybe project planning funds, or maybe a loan. Maybe I need land. These are all options and ways you can search on GrantStation by combining and checking on and off various boxes. So let's go ahead and click on equipment at this point and see what that narrows us down to. So for me, I like to be under 3 results, or under 10 results actually. So 3 is a perfect number to have. Then I can see at a glance, okay, here's one. Oh, I've already saved this one, the Harry and Jeanette Weinberg Foundation. So here's the option to save it to your dashboard. Here's a geographic scope of their giving. And here's their geographic focus. So if I'm in the Monterey County area, then this is a perfect fit for me. This particular one right here gives in the Verdugo area, including Burbank, Glendale, and et cetera. And then this one has a focus on San Francisco, California. What if I'm in Eureka, California? None of these work for me. There's no funding out there for me. Everything is ruined. Is it? Is it though? Maybe what we need to do is just remove a specific search term. And then we take one step back, we'll take another step back, and oh, now we have search results again. So something to keep in mind, when you narrow it down too far, you can narrow yourself out of results. That's why using keywords is also really dangerous, because you can find yourself in a situation where you're not finding funding because you just can't get any because you've narrowed yourself out of results. Another feature you've got that I'm going to show you here is the Asian Pacific Community Funds marked as NA. Why is it NA? Because I found them before. They aren't a fit for my needs, and I don't want to have them cluttering up, what I think is going to work for me. So we added this as a feature that was recommended by one of our users. They wanted a way to quickly see if something would work for them or not. And if it doesn't work, they wanted a way to mark it as not applicable. So we have that option right here. And if something is new within the last month or so, it'll have a little icon here that says new. So you know it's been added to our database in that time. So this is a really easy way to go about doing your research and finding funders that'll work for your specific need. Once you found a funder that works, you can go ahead and add it to your specific add it to your dashboard, add it to a plan. So let's go ahead and save this one. For instance, we're going to save this to our dashboard. So it's now been saved to our dashboard. And now I can go ahead and update it. I can add it to a specific project. So I'm going to add it to my after school health program. I can assign it a priority. I'll just put this at a medium priority. And I'm going to say, Carrie, this is all you, because she loves it when I give her extra work. Actually, it's just for demo, so it doesn't matter. This all you. That's all we need. Carrie gets it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save that. Now we have that saved to our dashboard. Let's jump into our dashboard now and take a look at that. So if we go into the main area of the dashboard, we go into our saved grant makers. We can say, oh, here it is, Carrie, this all you. I need to change that. We can see that we have application deadlines set up. We see what priority we gave it. We can put together a decision matrix, lets us know if it's a good fit or not by answering various questions and assigning it a 0 to 3 rating. If it's above a certain rating, we should apply. If it's below a certain rating, we shouldn't apply. We can then unsave it. We can add it to my plan. Let's go ahead and add it to my plan so I can show you that whole process here. That's okay. Well, let's go ahead and add it. So now it's on my plan. So if I click on my plan, you can have them filtered by the specific project you've made. So here's my after school health program. I'm gonna go ahead and apply that. Here's the one I recently added, the All-Star Accelerator program. I can go into this even further, and this is a lot of information that I just don't have the time to go into today, but you can add in the specific project. You can add in the priority you want, where your status is. Have you started it yet? Is it in progress? How much money did you request? What are the specific deadlines? This is where you can enter in your draft, submit an expected decision date. And of course, I can actually update that. So I won't be dreaming about that tonight in a nightmare. So Carrie, this is all you now. So as you can see, this is what you can do with the dashboard. You can then track this, see what's good. Then you can see what's happening. You can see what your expected decision is as well. all of this can be done as a part of your membership with GrantStation. So I'm going to go ahead and jump back to the home page here. Now I want to show you just a couple more little areas, then we'll start taking some questions and go from there. In addition to our US Charitable, which I just showed you, we also have a Canadian Charitable Database and an International Charitable Database. They function the exact same way. They are just broken down into specific provinces. So if you're in British Columbia, you would click British Columbia, click the boxes, and it'll give you results. And that's really the best way to think of how you use GrantStation. It's easy to use. You simply click boxes. You can save your results at any time. You can save your search criteria at any time. And you can also, in addition to Canadian Charitable and International Charitable, we also have a Canadian government section, which breaks down all the funding available, just like the US state government section, to province-based funding. So if you're doing work across the border in Canada, great option. If you're doing work internationally and you're based in the US, also great option because that's all available in the International Charitable section. This is where you can break it down by a specific continental grant maker. So you'll choose a continent and then you'll break it down to that specific area and go further and further accordingly. So one of the other areas I wanted to touch on before we go ahead and tackle some questions is just taking a look at some of our other resources we have here. If you are interested in really building yourself up as a grants professional, we have this free tool called the Pathfinder, which lets you make a custom curriculum of all the information that's out there. So you can basically use the Find Your Path tool, which I'll do really quickly and show you how this works. You start off by choosing what your role is. Let's say I'm a grant writer. And then we say, what's my experience level? I don't know what I'm doing. So I'll click novice. And what's the topic that I want to learn about in the grant life cycle? Well, I want to learn a lot about grant writing. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Get Recommendations. This is now going to give me a custom curriculum of everything that we've added to our Pathfinder database. It isn't necessarily all things offered by GrantStation. It's offered by all over the world. It's a collection of resources broken down into timely events, which would mean conferences, also live webinars, also workshops and trainings. And I'm just going to let you know, as you can see, there's lots and lots and lots of resources out there that we've added to this. And this is available for free. Simply coming to our website, going to public resources, and taking a look at the Pathfinder. This is a great way to find more types of training that works for your specific need. If I go ahead and click on Pathfinder, jump you back to that page, you can also just browse through all the different resources that we have without doing the tool. You can also search through them. This is an incredibly powerful section that's often overlooked by people. It's a great way to find extra trainings and education, which can potentially be paid for with a grant. So it's a great way and a great resource to really improve yourself as a grants professional. And also finally, under public resources, we also have our trend track section. Now, this is where you can find all kinds of great articles. We do weekly blog articles under our Insights blog. Sometimes I think our lead researcher, Kevin, writes articles, and all various people here at GrantStation. All these articles are useful. They're up to date. They're timely. Here's a recent one by Kevin, our lead researcher here. Our head of research here is Kevin. He wrote all this about grant seeking. Diane is one of our international researchers. Lots of great articles are available here. Again, this is all free. It's all included as a part of your membership. But everything that's not included and that I've shown you is searching for funders, building your strategy, and writing proposals and looking at award-winning proposals. All that is included with the low fee of, I think it's free if you decide to choose to use your specific option for a GrantStation membership. So I'm going to click back on the logo, take us back to the home page of GrantStation. And just let you know, one of the big things with GrantStation is, and even just with grant research in general, is that if you're doing a search for funding, it's really important to identify the best grant makers to approach prior to approaching them. Using GrantStation really allows you to apply your time where it's most effective and efficient in your specific search for funding. So with that, I want to go ahead and let people go ahead and type in some questions. If there are any, I'm not sure if there are any, Carrie, but if not, I have a couple more things to talk about.
There are no questions so far.
That is totally fine. We are not expecting questions, but we probably won't go overly long because, well, realistically, we just don't want to keep talking just to hear ourselves talk. But one thing I did want to point out is you can find that under my dashboard, when we go into our introduction here, and we're going to take a look at our specific projects, I believe is the area I was interested in. Let's take a look closer at Save the Chinchillas. Actually, we'll look at our saved grant makers that we have. So we can actually filter that by project. Let's look a little closer at Save the Chinchillas. We have 2 funders for Save the Chinchillas. So taking a look at this, this is where you can, if you're working on a team, maybe 2 people, this is a great way someone can leave a note for someone else saying, this is a good all around fit. And this is like my note for Carrie. Look at it. This is a great one to spend more focus on. You could even use the dashboard as a way to communicate with other people. And one other thing that's come up before is someone will say, Jeremy, the funder is not in your database. Why is it not there? Well, again, all the funders we list are actively accepting requests or unsolicited inquiries. That's the key. If you have a funder who gives specifically to you, well, you can add your very own grant maker, and then you can track it through the dashboard, add it to your plan, and then have it connect to the specific dates as well. All of this is included as part of your membership to GrantStation. And let me see, Carrie, is there anything you think I missed that I should touch on really quickly?
I don't believe so. Did you
Yeah.
go over our list of search terms? That might be helpful to show.
You know what? I'll do that right now. And now I'm going to put you on the spot with that, Carrie, since you brought it up. So when we talk about search terms, how many do we currently have that you can choose from?
Oh, I believe at last count, it was over 230. And of course, we keep adding to those. So it keeps growing. But yeah, there's a lot there.
And that's why we added this quick little way to search through it to get your keywords to match the funder's keywords. And this is just a powerful section in general, just to make sure you're on the same page as the grant maker. So another feature that you can find as a member of GrantStation. And of course, we have search tips available here, and you can always reach out to us specifically here at GrantStation by giving us a call. You know, we're human, we answer the phone line. You can even send us a fax if you're so inclined, or send us in a postcard. It's another way to do it. Might take longer to get your search results or search question answered, but probably the quickest way, info@grantstation.com. Someone will get back to you right away. And of course, you can learn more about our entire company and how we all work remotely. For instance, I'm up in Fairbanks, Alaska, and Carrie is on the Oregon coast. So we are all over the place. We have exposure to all types of nonprofits and ideas, and we have all levels of interest and ways to provide you with the grant research support and features that you need. So with that, any other questions have come in?
No, you covered everything so well. There have been no questions.
I'm going to lie to myself. I'm going to say that lie to myself forever. So thank you for that, Carrie.
Oh,
So
we actually, I
we have a
apologize.
question. Oh
no,
well,
that's from Johan. I'm sorry.
No,
I thought
that was just me. Sorry, Carrie. I jumped the gun on that. I was just sending the details for everyone who wanted to consider signing up for membership. The details are in the chat now.
Oh, that's perfect.
Special offer. Yeah.
Oh, will there be a recording of this as well, Johan?
There will. Yes.
Maybe we should say
on our Canton Tech site.
Maybe we should say what that URL is.
Sure. I mean, it's so the details are the normally $6.99 annual package is available through Pond Perks at $95. And members can go to the Join Pond homepage, or the full website is www.joinpond.com/pond-perks.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Johan, for letting us present today. This has been fantastic. We love talking about GrantStation, and we're always happy to talk about it more.
It was a really engaging presentation, so I appreciate both you joining us today, and thanks also for being a part of Camp Impact and Pond. Appreciate it.
It is our pleasure. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks, Carrie. All right.